Test, test. We're testing the audio here. Thank you for joining us for tonight's competition. This is a varsity swim meet between Chenango, Forks, and Greene. We will be getting started pretty soon. We're going to go ahead and mute the stream for the national anthem because otherwise YouTube will mute the entire video because the national anthem is copyrighted. So, we're waiting a couple minutes for the meet to get started, and as soon as we start jumping in, we will unmute and we'll get ready to go. Here we go.
Tonight's varsity competition will be between Chenango and Greene. Greene is coached by Mary Kelly and will be swimming in lanes 1, 3, and 5. Chenango is coached by starter Kelly Hillis and will be swimming in lanes 4 and 6. Before we sing the national anthem, please listen to the following New York State announcement. The New York State Public High School Athletic Association requires officials to enforce all sportsmanship rules for athletes and coaches. We will not tolerate any statements or action between opposing players, especially trash talking, taunting, or beating of opponents. If such comments are heard or actions seen, the penalty will be assessed immediately. We have been instructed not to issue warnings. Let today's contest reflect mutual respect. Your foundation for Blue Devils.
All right, sorry for the delay. We've had some technical difficulties. We will again mute for the music, and then we will unmute to start the meet in just a couple minutes. Thank you. All right, that was the national anthem. And in front of you on the far side of the pool, there are the Blue Devils, and off screen are Green swim team. The Green, I'm sorry, I don't know Green's mascot, but here we go. We are going to be starting off with the 200-yard medley relay. So how this works is each team will have 4 swimmers that take turns swimming the different strokes in a specific event as outlined at the top of your screen. Each swimmer will do 50 yards, so 1 length of the pool down and 1 length back. And when you multiply that by the 4, then you will get a total of 200 yards. I do see that the diving board is down and the lane line is not in the middle, so we may be starting with diving, which is not unusual. We also have some senior night ceremonies going on here. So that will likely take place in the middle of the meet instead of diving or after diving. That remains to be seen. But it does look like the officials off screen to the right are consulting the 2 divers. Tonight for Chenango Forks, we have Maddie Hall and Allison Dell diving. So assuming we are going to start with that, and we will begin that event in just a couple minutes. So we are going to switch the overlay a little bit to the diving setup here. The divers are each going to take several warm-up attempts, and then we will actually begin the competition. So we have moved some of the senior night decorations out of the way to let us better see the divers tonight. And in fact, you know what we're going to do? We're going to zoom in a little bit. We do not need the full pool view for diving tonight, so we're going to extend that out just a little bit like this. That's probably okay. There we go. All right, so as soon as they're done with their diving warm-ups, how this event works is in varsity, each diver will do 6 different dives. There are a number of categories that they have to meet. There are 5 different types of dive. There's a forward, a backward, an inward, a reverse, and a twist. Of those 5 categories, every week, the diver has to hit 4 of the categories across their 6 dives, and there is a required dive every week. That category will be whichever dive the divers do first. So whatever week it is this week, the divers will do a required dive. So Allison will be going first. So it sounds like the required dive this week is a reverse dive. So Allison will be doing a 302C, which is a reverse dive in the tuck position, degree of difficulty 1.6. So Allison will be doing a forward approach off the board and then rotating backwards. Here we go. Very good job. So now we'll wait for the officials to announce their scores. The scores were 6.5, 6, and 6, so very good scores. The scores are out of 10, but it is unusual to see anything above a 6 or 7 in most meets. Maddie will be doing a 301C, which is a reverse dive in the tuck position. Spin that around for us a little bit. Degree of difficulty 1.6. Maddie is a freshman on the team, so she's still been working on that dive. Of the 4 categories, well, the 5 categories of diving, there is no reverse and modified, so it's her first year on varsity. She is still learning that category, so a good attempt from her. She is allowed 1 failed dive out of her 6 and is still eligible to compete in the rest of the competitions, so we assume that she can do the other 5, and so we'll see her get to that in just a minute. This is Allison's second dive out of 6. It was a back somersault in the tuck position. The degree of difficulty was 1.5. See what the judges think. 6, 5.5, and 5.5. So consistently good scores from Allison so far. So Maddie will be doing a back dive in the straight position. So all the dives we've seen so far in the tuck position where the divers bring their knees to their chest. This time she will be keeping her body out straight. And this is just a back dive, degree of difficulty 1.7. Very good dive. The judges give her a 5.5, a 5, and a 5. So there are 3 judges. The way this works is you take their 3 scores, you add them together, you multiply that sum by the degree of difficulty, and then you accumulate all 6 of those individual scores from the 6 dives, and then at the end of that, that gives the divers their score. So Allison is up next with her 3rd dive. There's a forward somersault in the tuck position. The judges give her a 6.5, a 5.5, and a 5.5. Very good.
Maddie's next dive will be a 401B, an inward dive with degree difficulty 1.5.
Maddie's next dive will be an inward dive in the pike position. So the pike position, she will keep her legs straight and reach down and grab her ankles. So, and for an inward, she will be facing the back wall, but instead of rolling backwards like you would in a back dive or somersault, she will be rotating towards the wall there. So it's just an inward dive in the pike position. Very well executed. It's a very nice looking dive. Let's see what the judges think. 6, 5.5, and 6. So great scores for Maddie. So that we are halfway through diving now. Each diver has done 3 of their 6 dives. Allison will be doing a 103, which is a forward 1.5 somersault. So we're spinning a little bit more here. The degree of difficulty for this will be 1.6. And she'll be doing this in the tuck position. Got it around pretty cleanly. And the judges will give her a 6, a 5, and a 6.5. Very good.
Maddie's next dive will be a 402C, an inward 1 somersault in the tuck position, degree of difficulty 1.6.
Okay, Maddie will be doing another inward. She just did an inward pike and it looked very good. She's been doing inwards for a few years now. Again, as a 9th grader, she did dive in 7th and 8th grade. So she has a little bit more practice with dives like this than she does the reverses. That was an inward somersault in the tuck position. A little bit of over rotation. Let's see what the judges give her. 4, 3.5, and 4. So not too bad. She's almost ready to turn that into a 1.5 with a little bit more work. So, Allison's penultimate dive will be a inward dive in the tuck position. Degree of difficulty is 1.4. Very good job. The judges will give her 5, 5, and 5. All right, so Maddie's penultimate dive will be a forward somersault with a half of a twist. So this time we're seeing a little bit of a mix-up from the previous set positions. This one's in the free position. So she's going to do her somersault and then twist her torso and get some lateral rotation in there. So there's the somersault, there's the twist, and she gets it around. Good work. The scores are 4, 4, and 3.5. Good work, Maddie. So we are going into the final round of diving.
Allison's final dive will be a 5121D.
Allison will now be doing her free position dive. Same thing, forward somersault, 1/2 of a twist. Degree of difficulty for this is 1.7. Very well done. The judges give her a 5.5, 5, and a 4.5.
Maddie's final dive will be a 104C, a forward 2 somersault in the tuck position.
Maddie's final dive for the evening will be a double somersault. She's been working on this for a couple years, has had it for a while, and has really been working on cleaning it up. It was definitely an impressive dive to see from her in modified, and now she has moved up and is now doing it in varsity. This is the highest DD dive of the evening. It is a degree of difficulty of 2.2. The only one over 2 we've seen tonight. Gets it around very cleanly. Great work. See what the judges give her. 5, 4.5, and 5. With that high degree of difficulty, that score really adds up fast. That's going to be over 30 points from that dive for just Maddie. So, great work there. We are now going to transition probably to the medley relay. So we got diving done. In the middle of the meet where diving would normally be, there will be the senior night celebrations. But right now, we are transitioning to the medley relay. All right, so again, we were explaining before a medley relay. We can move the camera to get a better angle on the pool here. Okay, the medley relay has 4 swimmers in each lane. They're each going to swim the different strokes. That's what the medley means. So we're going to have a backstroker, a breaststroker, a butterflyer, and a freestyler in each lane. So in Chenango Forks, in lane 2, we've got Tessa Kosak doing the backstroke, Abby Taylor doing the breaststroke, Josie Cornell doing the fly, and Victoria Austin doing the free. In Greene, for lane 3, you've got Alexis Clark doing the backstroke, Mallory Jeffrey doing the breaststroke, Madison Pavlovich doing the butterfly, and Olivia Ketzak doing the free. And then in lane 4 for Forks, you've got Allison Dell, who's just diving, doing the backstroke, Taylor Scales doing the breaststroke, Marissa Figueroa doing the butterfly, and Eve Ginty doing the freestyle. So this is a team event where they have to take turns. Obviously, the previous swimmer has to finish their length before the next swimmer can start theirs. And it's a 200-yard race. The first 3 events of a varsity meet are all 200 yards. The difference is that this time, it's not one person swimming them. It is a team of 4 splitting up that 200 yards among the 4 of them. So in just a moment, the official will blow their whistle, and the backstrokers start out this race in the water, since they're going to be on their backs. And then the rest of the strokes will follow in the order that's laid out at the top of your screen. So backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly, and freestyle. So we're just making some adjustments to the pool. We put the flags back after diving. We put the lane line back after diving. And everything's in place, so we're ready to rock. All right, a bit of a delayed start there. The swimmers had a little bit of confusion, but they are off the blocks cleanly. No false starts. So we've got Allison Dell, a senior, off to a lead in lane 4, being chased closely by Tessa Kosak, a freshman, in lane 2, and Greene's in the thick of it too with Alexis Clark. So for the backstroke, they come into the far side wall. They actually roll onto their bellies to do a flip turn before staying on their back and returning to the deep end wall on their back. It's important they finish on their back or else they will get disqualified. Now, going second in lane 4 is Allison Touches. It is freshman Taylor Scales. And in lane 2, we've got freshman Abby Taylor. They are both going to be doing the breaststroke for those teams. For Greene in lane 3, it's Mallory Jeffrey doing the breaststroke. And she is off with some speed. Let's see if she can make up some of this ground on the Forks breaststrokers. Going next in lane 4 for Forks is junior Marissa Figueroa. She has a very pretty start. She's in the water nice and fast, and we'll be doing the butterfly here. And in lane 2, we've got Josie Cornell. So Abby Taylor touches, and there goes Josie. Now, as Mallory comes in for Greene, Madison will be taking her spot, and we'll be doing the 50-yard butterfly. Marissa's coming into the wall strong, and it is going to be senior swimmer Eve Ginty closing out this relay with 50 yards of freestyle. Eve off the block nice and fast there. You are allowed to leave the block early-ish as long as your toe is still touching the block when the swimmer in the water's hand touches the wall. It is a legal start. Now, Eve, as a senior, has plenty of experience. She's been swimming competitively since 7th grade. She knows exactly how to push that boundary, and you saw her get a moving start and already be out over the water before Marissa touched the wall. Victoria Austin, a junior, does the same thing as Josie Cornell comes into the wall, and Olivia Ketzak is out into the last 50 for Greene, doing her best to close this gap. Eve's on the wall first, so it is Forks in first place, but we've got a nice close race developing here between lanes 2 and 3. Greene is closing the distance. They're gaining in on her. Can Victoria finish the race in time? And yes, Tori gets her hand on the wall. I don't believe it. 1/100th of a second ahead of Greene. What a finish. What a finish. 1/100th of a second. What a great race from Greene's swimmer, Olivia Ketzak, really closing the distance there with a very, very nice 50-yard freestyle. And great job to Victoria Austin for not letting her get away with it. So the swimmers are all going to head down now. Up next, we have the 200-yard freestyle. We have 3 swimmers for Chenango Forks and 2 swimmers for Greene. In lane 2, there's no one in lane 1, which is the closest lane to us. In lane 2, we have Olivia McPeak from Forks. Lane 3 is Natalie Specht from Greene. Lane 4, Gabby Backman from Forks. Lane 5, Savannah Nowick from Greene. And lane 6, Kaylee Lockwood from Forks. In this event, they're going to be doing 8 laps, just like the previous race, but there's no teammates to cover for you here. Each swimmer is individually responsible for doing 8 lengths of the pool. And they have to keep track. There are no counters in the 200, so at the varsity level, we expect them to know when 8 laps is over, but we have seen in modified events, swimmers lose track of where they are and either stop too early or keep going after they should have finished. Now, off the blocks early, it is sophomore Gabby Backman with an early lead for Forks. And junior Olivia McPeak is right there with her. We have both of Greene's swimmers in the mix. We really have a close race so far for the 4 swimmers in lanes 2, 3, 5, and 6. But Greene's Savannah Nowak is keeping up with Gabby Backman in lane 4 as best she can, trying not to let her get too far ahead. Very close race right now between Forks' Olivia McPeak and Forks' Kaylee Lockwood in lanes 2 and 6 respectively. So coming into the 100-yard mark right now is sophomore Gabby Backman. She's almost halfway through her race. She is no stranger to this race, starting it early back in modified and accidentally doing very well in it, and she has found a home in this race ever since. There is a lot of trial and error involved in swimming distance races, learning that fine line between pushing as fast as you can for the entire race without running out of gas early. But the more you swim distance races like the 200 and the 500, the better you get at sort of getting a feel for what race pace you want to be going at, how fast you want each of the individual 50s to be. And so Gabby is certainly experienced in that regard. She is coming into the 150-yard mark with a very fast time of still under 2 minutes. Meanwhile, there is a very, very tight battle for second place We've got Forks Olivia McPeak and Greene Savannah Nowak neck and neck right now across the deep end of the pool. Olivia is going to come into the wall just a hair sooner. Gets a flip turn in, which will help her try to maintain that lead. And now it's about who can close this race, who's got the energy left. The 200, although mid-distance, is considered a sprint. It is rarely swum as such, but it is a sprint if you have the training to do so. It is incredibly difficult to sprint all 200 yards, but Olivia and Savannah are digging deep to see who's got enough energy to do just that. And Kaylee Lockwood, not to be forgotten, is closing in from lane 6, trying her best to stay in this race. It was Gabby on the wall first from Forks at the time of 2:26, and Olivia will come in second from Forks with a time of 2:52. Finishing right behind her was Savannah from Greene with a time of 2:53. And then again, Kaylee Lockwood in lane 6 with a time of 2:55. Finally, we've got Natalie finishing it up for Greene in lane 3. She's finishing strong, and that's the race. You see the girls reaching across the lane line there, giving each other high fives, some nice sportsmanship, and they will now climb out. It's also a sort of unspoken sportsmanship rule that every swimmer stays in the water until all of their competitors are done. There's nothing forcing them to do so. They are allowed to leave the pool when they're done with their race, but it is considered good sportsmanship for everyone to stay in the water until every lane has finished their race. Relays obviously excluded from that because they actually by rule have to get out of the water unless they are the last swimmer to make room for everyone else. You don't want 4 girls piling up in one lane. The next event is the 200-yard IM. So brief explanation of that after the start. So again, a 200-yard race, the third one in a row, 8 laps. This time, each swimmer will be doing 50 yards of each of the 4 strokes. The order goes butterfly first, then backstroke, then breaststroke, then freestyle. That is a different order than the medley relay, but the medley relay starts with the backstrokers in the water because they can't do a relay start from the blocks and be on their back at the same time. In lane 4 with an early lead is junior Marissa Figueroa. She's got a very nice long butterfly stroke, both fast and energy efficient, now going into the backstroke. Meanwhile, we've got a swimmer from Greene. It's Madison in second place by a comfortable lead. And then Mallory and Josie battling it out for third right now as they come in from the butterfly. They will be rotating onto their backs to do the 50 yards of backstroke. Marissa does her backstroke turn in the shallow end. She is going to be coming back and doing what is considered the hardest turn of the IM, the backstroke to breaststroke transition. There are 3 different ways to do this flip. We'll see which one Marissa chooses. The safest is to just touch on your back and then sort of roll onto your front. She opts not to do that and to do something much faster and much fancier called a bucket turn, where you touch on your back and then do a standing backflip by bringing your knees up to your shoulders and rotating backwards. It is faster than an open turn and also requires a lot more core power and technique. But Marissa has been swimming competitively for a long time and knows that turn. She's doing the breaststroke right now. The 3 other swimmers from Forks and Greene are all very close. This is still anyone's race for second place. Something interesting about the IM is that it's a race you never really want to call early because each swimmer generally has a couple strokes that they're good at and a couple ones that they're a little bit weaker at. So it's often hard to tell part of the way through the race which of those strong strokes they have already swam and which ones that they're going to be weaker at and not be able to develop a lead during. Marissa is coming into her 50 yards of freestyle, certainly moving a little bit slower, very tired from the previous 150 yards, but she's got quite the lead and should be able to finish this out. It is Greene's Madison in lane 2 and Madison in lane 5 in second and Mallory in lane 3 in third right now. Josie falling off a little bit in the breaststroke. That is, as I mentioned earlier, one of her weaker strokes. We'll see what she can do in the freestyle. The freestyle is really just a test of who has the most energy left after the previous 150 yards. Everyone can swim freestyle pretty well generally. And it's just about how much energy you've got left in the tank to try to sprint this one out. But Greene's swimmers have developed a very comfortable lead. So while it was closer earlier in the race, we do have Madison pulling away comfortably and looks like she will probably be coming in second place, bar anything catastrophic. And we've got Mallory doing the same in lane 3 for Greene as well. Josie finishing nice and strong, is using what energy she's got left. You see a nice big kick, so she's still going for it, trying to drop her best time in lane 2. And one of the best things about swimming is no matter how you are doing compared to the other competitors in the other lanes, you always have an opponent in your own best time. So regardless of whether you're in first or last, you're always trying to swim as fast as you can to beat your own best times. At the varsity level, swimmers often have their best times memorized, and if you ask them in theory, they should know what they are. With that event over, we now enter the 50-yard freestyle. This is a very fast down and back all-out sprint. It is equivalent to the 100-meter in track, where it's just a sprint to see who can finish the fastest. A little bit longer in terms of duration than track. Obviously, the distance is half, but while the 100 in track typically takes under 10 seconds at a very competitive level, in swimming it will take somewhere in the low 20s. So we've got from Greene in lane 1, Alexis Clark. From Forks in lane 2, Sophie Shepard. In lane 3, Skylar Nowak from Greene. In lane 4, Eve Ginty from Forks. Lane 5, Olivia Ketzak from Greene. In lane 6, Allison Dell from Forks. Coming off the only turn of the race, it is Skylar in first place. Eve is right there on her hips, but Skylar has developed quite a comfortable lead. And man, what a race for second place. There are 4 girls all in the mix here. Sophie Shepard from an outside lane making moves for Forks. She gets her hand on the wall. Second. Looks like Allison Dow got it third. Olivia Ketzak from Greene comes in fourth. Eve Ginty in fifth. And Alexis Clark in sixth place. All very, very closely bunched times. You see lots of low 30s, 31s right there. So a nice competitive race for all the girls there. All right, normally at this part in the meet we would break for diving, but because we did diving at the beginning, we will be doing some senior night festivities instead. Forks will be celebrating 3 seniors tonight. And if Greene has any seniors on their team this year, they will also be celebrating. For a closer look in on the action, we are going to become mobile here. If you have motion sickness, you may want to look away from the screen for a couple minutes as we go on a little adventure. So here we go. So we're going to get right down there in the action, make sure that we can see the festivities for senior night.
Breaking this up quick.
Oh, you're fine. So you see the girls in the background there sort of making a little tunnel out of pool noodles for the seniors that they will walk through. There's a lot of different things they might be doing here. They often have a little celebration where they walk through the pool noodle tunnel, and then the seniors will do a ceremonial 25-yard air quotes race. No one swims it quickly, and they just sort of goof around and do whatever they want. So we see them all lining up, getting everything set up right now. We can turn off the scoreboard here. You don't need to see that. There we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started.
As you can tell, tonight is our senior night. We're going to recognize our seniors that we have here. And we're going to be leaving us after the cheer. We're going to miss them very dearly. And without further ado, we're going to get started with our first senior. Victoria?
I'm happy to introduce Julia. She's with our team this year. She's a foreign exchange student from Italy. She was very excited to join our team. We're so happy to have her this year.
She's a senior, so this will be her only year with us, but it was so much fun while it lasted. We wish her luck with her future and whatever she has planned.
Our next swimmer is Allison Dow. Parents Sean and Samuel Dow. Allison's future plans are to finish high school at Chenango and attend college. Allison plans on majoring in business management and for 4 years at college. She also plans to continue her love for swimming and diving in college. Allison has been swimming with the team for only 2 years, but has enjoyed every practice except for when Star makes us watch Aiden swim. Allison has given me 2 of her favorite team memories. The first is the time she was working on her double front flip off the diving board and smacked her butt on the water. This later resulted in having to put ice packs inside her swimsuit to help the swelling go down. This is how she got her nickname Ice Cream. Her other memory was the time she walked into the pool for practice with her mind a little distracted. She promptly walked over to Star and said, "I have a cat and I need to get rid of it." Star responded, "I have a puppy who will eat it so I can take it." After asking a few people, everyone was saying no until Taylor walked in. She asked her if she wanted the cat, and she responded with, "Cat? Yes, cat. I want a cat." The cat is now hers and a bit of a crackhead from what she has heard. Those moments have made practice more entertaining. Allison's advice to younger swimmers is to continue to do what they love and work hard so that anything is possible. She also said to believe and don't be afraid of what others think. As long as you are being yourself, you will never have to hide a thing. There are 2 quotes Allison found inspiring and fitting for this team, and those quotes are, "The time you have now is the most important. Don't take it for granted." And "Comfort is the enemy of time. You have now is the most important. Don't take..." Hold up, I messed it up. "Comfort is the enemy of progress, so stepping out of the zone is okay." The people Allison would like to thank are her mother, Sean, and her father, Samuel, for always helping her continue in what she loves, and her coaches and teammates for making these last 2 years memorable. Last thing Allison would like to share is directed towards her teammates. Perfection is impossible without humility. Don't discount the importance of being humble. There is a value far greater than pride can ever provide.
All done?
All right.
Can I tell you I called so much? I don't think I've ever read that much in an essay.
Next is Evie Dinton. Eve's parents' name are Max and Molly Dinton.
Sonography.
Eve's future plans is stenography, and she wants to go to college at BCC for 2 years and not sure what else. Eve has swam for Chenango since she was 6 and swam modified varsity for the past 4 years. Freshman year was with Mr. Hillis was Eve's favorite memory, and swimming the 100-free and jogging time. Eve's advice for younger swimmers is 4 years go by fast, take it day by day, but also have fun while doing it. Eve's quote she was inspired by was, "When you get tired, learn to rest one little bit." Eve would like to thank her mom, her dad, Max, her brother, her sister, Emily, and Mr. Willis. Eve also would like to give to the younger swimmers as when Star gives you a look good in the city look back. Well done.
Yeah.
I'll do it. All right. Our next up is our traditional senior swim. seniors get ready, we want to make sure that our green seniors don't go unrecognized tonight. So, next up, walking through the tunnel of littles, we'd like to recognize green seniors of Olivia Petzetta and Skylar Noah. Please welcome them. All right, girls, you ready? Landon, Xander, Noah, cover your faces. Thank you.
I better see some corkscrew. Let's go. Yeah.
Do a flip.
Do a flip.
All right, swimmers.
And diver. And diver.
And diver. Take your mark. Go. She did a flip. And now they are off to a very, very fast, very competitive, taken very seriously, 25-yard swim. Great work, girls. All right, so we are going to pause the audio for a little bit while the girls do the normal warm-up that would happen after diving, and we will resume the meet in a few minutes. Again, we are going to have a lot of motion here, so look away if you get motion sick. Go.
Hey guys.
It's muted.
Hi.
They can't hear you, but they can see you.
Oh, hey guys.
You're famous. Oh, it's not muted. I'm just kidding.
Commentary.
Yep. All right, so up next we will have the 100-yard butterfly. From this point forward, it is all swimming events until the end of the night, so the pace of the meet is going to pick up significantly. Swimming, we don't have that many swimmers in this event. In lane 2 from Forks is Josie Cornell. In lane 4 from Forks is Marissa Figueroa. In lane 3 from Greene, Madison Pavlovich. Oh, we need to get the timing system up again. Please hold. There we go. We're up and rolling. So the timing system, in theory, should be working correctly. There it goes. The 100-yard butterfly is considered by many to be one of the harder events in the varsity's lineup. So not mysterious that there's only 3 girls swimming it tonight. Greene is a relatively small team. Forks is a medium-sized team. So neither team is large enough to fill every lane in every event. So someone's got to, some events have to go open, and it is no mystery why the 100 fly has been chosen by both teams to be a little bit short-staffed. That said, Marissa Figueroa is off to a very comfortable lead here early on. Coming in, there's the 50-yard split, so halfway through the race at around 33.5 seconds. Chasing her is Madison from Greene, and then in third place right now, Josie from Forks. I want to announce the 100? No? You want to read the names?
I'm going to hold me by myself. Oh, wait.
It's fun. All right. Here comes Marissa coming into the wall. Time of 1:11. Not a best time for her, but she is coming off an injury to her ankle. You can see her there wearing some tape around her ankle to help with that. Madison coming in right now in lane 3, closing up the race, and Josie in lane 2 doing the same. So there is Madison with a time of 1:30, and Josie will probably finish sometime around 1:45, 1:50, somewhere in that region. Just over 1:50, here she comes with a final time of 1:53.26. Great job, swimmers. Up next is the 100-yard freestyle. There are no swimmers in lane 1, the lane closest to us. In lane 2, we have Olivia McPeak from Forks. Lane 3, Skylar Nowak from Greene. Lane 4, Eve Ginty from Forks. Lane 5, Olivia Ketzak from Greene. And lane 6, Elena Nathan from Forks. Now, Skylar did very well for Greene in the 50-yard freestyle, beating out Forks' Eve Ginty in that race. So we'll see if she can do the same thing in a race with a little bit more distance. So like the 50, this event is considered a sprint. So swimmers will be trying to push their energy for every one of the 100 yards. And Skylar is going out to an early lead, but not by much. Olivia and Eve are with her. Both Olivias. It looks like Forks and Greene both have a swimmer named Olivia in this event. And they're very similar in speed so far. Skylar is taking off, but the battle for second place is certainly on. We've got Olivia McPeak, Olivia Kutzak, and Eve Ginty all trying to do that as they came into the halfway mark in this race. Very, very close. Meanwhile, Elena Nathan not far behind either, out in lane 6 for Forks. It's Skylar off the wall first, coming in with 25 yards left. Olivia Kutzak is second, with Eve Ginty and Olivia McPeak falling off a little bit later in the race, meaning that Greene will go first and second place in this race. Very good job. So Forks takes third, fourth, and fifth. Great races from everyone. All right. While the next race is significantly longer, it is no less exciting. Up next, we have the 500-yard freestyle. In lane 2 from Forks is Tessa Kosak. In lane 3 from Greene, Natalie Specht. In lane 4 from Forks, Gabby Backman. No swimmer for Greene in lane 5. Lane 6 is freshman Kaylee Lockwood from Forks. It's a 500-yard race. This is by a long shot the longest race in a varsity lineup. Each girl has to swim 20 consecutive laps without stopping. So there is, again, as I talked about earlier with the 200, which is only 40% of this race, then elements to trial and error and practicing at practice, trying to figure out exactly what speed you want to take each of the 10 different 50s or the 20 25s at during this race. Excuse me. Pretty quick start from the official there, and the swimmers are off. In this race, in the shallow end right now, you're going to see some girls kneeling down with kickboards and what are called counting boards that they will hold into the water. Those are useful for the swimmers to keep track of which of the 20 laps they are on, and also pretty crucial for the officials who have a lot going on in this race, trying to mentally keep track of where each of potentially up to 6 or 8 swimmers, depending on the size of the team and the size of the pool, can be very difficult without the use of these counters. So the counters will help in this longer distance race, both the swimmers, the officials, and the audience sort of keep track of who is where during the progress of the race. Now, we have Gabby Backman off to an early lead here. Tessa Kosak sticking right with her so far. Gabby is, again, a sophomore with plenty of distance experience. Tessa is an incoming freshman who hasn't swam a ton of distance historically, was always a backstroker and a little bit of everything, really, at the modified level, but did toy around with the 200 a couple times and has been experimenting with some longer distances like the 500 now that she's on varsity as a freshman this year and doing quite well. Out in lane 6, we've got Kaylee Lockwood, another freshman making her distance debut in this event. Talked to her before the start of the meet. Her strategy just seems to sort of play it safe, make sure she doesn't run out of energy, get a feel for it. That is not atypical for someone's first time swimming this type of event. Obviously, these girls swim thousands of yards every day in practice, but the atmosphere and expectations are significantly different during a competitive meet. So Kaylee just sort of getting a feel for it, going a very comfortable speed. We'll see if maybe as she goes through the race, she decides to either hold back and save a little bit more, or decides she's doing all right and maybe push a little bit faster. We've got Natalie Specht from Greene staying right with Kaylee there in lane 3. Kaylee's in lane 6, all the way on the other side of the camera from us here. Help yourself. So Gabby coming in towards the 200-yard mark. Again, her time tonight in the 200 was just under 2:30. Her split right here will be around 2:35. So holding a very, very strong pace here. Again, an experienced swimmer in this event, has swam it almost every meet since she started on the varsity roster last year. So has gotten a good feel for how she wants to push the speed of each of these 50s. And she'll be coming into about the halfway yard mark, or excuse me, the halfway mark in terms of yardage here, coming in towards the 250 mark. It is okay for coaches and spectators to try to communicate with the swimmers during races like this. So a lot of times the girls holding the counting board in the shallow end will set something up with the person that's swimming in that lane with them ahead of time, like maybe moving the panels up and down means one thing, moving them side to side means another thing, swinging them back and forth could mean a third thing. So you can sort of send signals. Coaches can also yell and throw up hand signals to the girls to help them get some feedback during their race. It's especially important in 6 and 8 lane pools where, depending on which side you like to breathe towards, you might not always be able to see where your competition is and what they're doing, and so some feedback from the spectators who are more focused on that as opposed to actually swimming the race can be helpful. When it comes to counting, there is a rule where the counters are flipping the panels, but they have to wait until the swimmer in their lane does a turn in the deep end of the pool before they flip that. So right now, Gabby's coming in. She's being shown a 13 on her panel. Even though she just touched the wall and is now swimming away, her counter will wait until Gabby does a turn in the deep end to switch that to 15. And there are no even numbers on the counters in the one spot because the swimmers are only seeing these panels in the shallow end, so they do count by odd numbers. Not unusual, we do start to see the swimmers in longer races like this start to spread out. You'll see less of this depending on which teams are swimming and how late in the season it is, where they become a little bit more tightly grouped, especially at meets like sectionals. But right now, Gabby is a full lap ahead of everyone else, or almost everyone else in the competition. She is not a full lap ahead of Tessa. She's about 25 yards ahead of Tessa. But Gabby is coming in to the 400-yard mark, meaning she's only got 100 yards left to swim, and holding a very consistent pace. Gabby's best time is right around 6.5 minutes. So if she wants to beat that time, she's going to have to go out and do a 1 minute and 10-second split. Now, compared to the rest of her splits in this 500, that is incredibly fast, but it's always easier to race and push times in distance events like this when you have someone nearby that's also swimming quickly so that you can push yourself against them. It's very, very hard to pace yourself by yourself in events like this. Tessa Kosak is coming in now with 100 yards left. You hear the buzzer go off, which in a distance race means that the first place swimmer has only 50 yards remaining, so Gabby is going into that right now. Kaylee Lockwood still doing strong up there in lane 6, coming into the 15 lap count, so she is done with 3/4 of her race as of that flip turn. And Natalie Specht, not too far behind, just finished her 14th lap and coming in for the 3/4 turn as she heads down into the shallow end right now. Gabby is powering through. You see the speed of the kick pick up a little bit. Her arms are moving a lot faster, so she does have some energy left at the end of this race. She'll come in around a 6:38 or so. Yep, there it is, 6:38.11. So certainly not a bad time from Gabby. Tessa Kosak is into her last 50. We'll see if she does a flip and has any energy left. You may notice that at the deep end of the pool, instead of holding the number 19 down, even though that is the 19th lap, there are 2 red panels that the counter will flash, letting the swimmer know, in case they've somehow missed the other 17 counts, that they are on the last 25 of their race and to give it everything they've got left. So Tessa coming into the wall strong with a final time of 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Very good swim from her. Kaylee Lockwood doing very well for a first-time swimmer of this race. On pace to get just over 8 minutes, which is not bad at all. So coming in, 50 yards left from Kaylee. We'll see if she decides to pick up the pace. Really depends on what she's got left. Coach Starr is doing his best to urge her to go faster, and she is probably giving it whatever she's got left in the tank, which is often not much at this point in the race. And Natalie Specht coming into the wall with just over 50 yards left in her race. Natalie doing her last flip turn in the deep end. Kaylee closing in on that wall, a little bit stronger of a kick. The arm is moving a little faster. She is ready to get this race over with. And here she comes at around 8 minutes and 12 seconds. Very good swim. Yep. And Natalie will be coming in right around probably 8 minutes and 50 seconds. Maybe 8:40 something. 8:45. So she is coming in. Last few yards of this race for Natalie Specht. And 8:48. Great swim from all of the girls in that race. Certainly a long one. But it can be very exciting, especially when throughout the course of the 20 laps, there are some girls that are close to each other and they're all trying hard not to let someone else pass them. Up next, we have the 200-yard freestyle relay. Like the first event of the meet, this is a relay where each girl will swim 50 yards, although this time, instead of the 4 different strokes, it is freestyle all the way down. So in lane 2, we have Taylor Scales, Kaylee Lockwood, Abby Taylor, and Olivia McPeak. In lane 3, from Greene, we have Mallory Jeffries, Savannah Nowak, Madison Pavlovich, and Skylar Nowak. In lane 4 from Forks, Sophie Shepard, Eve Ginty, Allison Dell, and Gabby Bachman coming right out of the 500 along with Kaylee Lockwood, right back into the mix. Then in lane 6, we have Emily Wilson, Elena Nathan, Madison Hall, and Josie Cornell. And they are off. So each of the swimmers in this relay will just be doing a quick down and back sprint and then hopping out of the water. I mentioned earlier they want to stay in the water until every racer is done. That is not true in a relay unless you are the final swimmer. You are required to climb out at the end of your leg of the relay unless you are the last swimmer. Coming in for Forks, it is Taylor Scales and Sophie Shepard. Taylor coming in with a 29, Sophie in with about a 32. Going second in lane 2, it's Kaylee Lockwood. Coming right out of the 500 and back into the action here. And Eve Ginty for Forks trying to catch up to lane 2. In lane 3 from Greene, it's Savannah Nowak also trying to stay in this race, not letting the 2 Forks relays pull away from her too much. Eve closing the gap a little bit from what Taylor gave her in the first leg. Up next, we've got Allison Dell in lane 4 and Abby Taylor in lane 2. Abby coming in with a slight lead, but Allison's going to push this and see if she can pull ahead from lane 4. Off the blocks for Greene, it's Madison Pavlovich. And off the blocks for Forks there, it is Maddie Hall following up Elena Nathan's swim in lane 6. Here comes Allison, pulling slightly ahead of Abby Taylor. It's going to be Gabby Bachman straight out of the 500, trying to squeeze out 50 fast more yards. Oh, she's going for it. And not going to let her have it. In lane 2, it's Olivia McPeak. She's got Gabby in her sights and is trying her best to chase her down. And we've got Skylar Nowak in lane 3. Not to be forgotten about, she did win the 50-yard individual race earlier in the meet, as well as the 100 yards. So we're seeing her close in on Olivia rapidly. We'll see if Olivia can once again out-touch the Greene relay like we saw in the first event of the meet. Olivia will be coming in with a little bit of a lead. And it is Forks first, Forks second, and Greene third. And then Josie Cornell finishing up for Chenango Forks in lane 6. Great work, girls. Great job. That completes the second of 3 relays of the evening. The final relay will be happening not too far from now. It is the final event of the night. We do have 3 events left, starting with the 100 backstroke. You want to read it? In lane 2, we've got Tori Austin from Forks. In lane 3, Alexis Clark from Greene. In lane 4, Tessa Kosak from Forks. And in lane 6, Emily Wilson from Forks. A lot of these girls just swam in the relay or in the 500 right before the relay, so certainly running low on energy is pretty typical at this point in a swim meet. Girls are allowed to swim 4 total events, 2 individuals and 2 relays. Diving does count as an individual event, one of your 2. So at this point in the meet, swimmers are typically on their 3rd or their 4th race, so in short meets like this, swimming began less than an hour ago, and they are now racing for the 3rd or 4th time tonight. certainly exhausting. So off the blocks in lane 2, again, Victoria Austin from Forks. Lane 3, Alexis Clark from Greene. Lane 4, Tessa Kosak from Forks. Lane 6, Emily Wilson from Forks. In this race, the swimmers must remain what we call backward facing, meaning on their back the whole way down except for their turns. They are allowed to roll onto their bellies at each wall, but they may not start a new stroke once they're forward facing. They can finish any strokes in process. So what you'll see down here in the deep end is they roll over right as they start a stroke, and that allows them to do sort of a half of a freestyle stroke and pull going into what is essentially a freestyle flip turn, but you stay on your back as you push off the wall. It's 50 yards down for Tori and Tessa, neck and neck. Another thing about this stroke is because you're looking straight up at the ceiling the whole time, it is hard oftentimes to see where your opponents are in relation to you. So we don't know if Tessa and Tori realize how close they are right now. And Emily not too far behind Alexis. Tessa is pulling away a little bit, has some nice endurance in this race, so as she comes into the 100-yard mark here, she'll be on the wall in around 1:25. Great time from Tessa. And Tori coming in just behind her, 1:30. Great times from both girls. We've got Alexis looking like she's going to be finishing third from Greene in lane 3. And Emily in fourth from Forks out there in lane 6, finishing up her race as well. All right, the penultimate event of the evening is the 100-yard breaststroke. Breaststroke is considered to be technically the most challenging stroke. Additionally, typically the slowest stroke for most swimmers, but there's a lot of unnatural movements for the human body in this stroke. The pull is interesting. The kick is unnatural for humans. It's a very familiar stroke if you're an amphibian. We call it the frog kick. And the timing is, fast once you get it right, but certainly takes a lot of practice to do so. So we've got Sophie Shepard in lane 2 from Forks, Mallory Jeffrey in lane 3 from Greene, Taylor Scales 4 from Forks, Savannah Nowak 5 from Greene, and 6, Abby Taylor from Forks. All 3 of these girls from Chenango Forks are freshman breaststrokers that have been racing each other for the last couple of years. So they are no stranger to this matchup with each other. We typically see Sophie and Taylor keep the race very close, with Sophie typically doing well in the second half of the race, closing any gap Taylor gets over her. It is not uncommon to see these 2 girls get a lead early. They are both very, very strong at this stroke. So we see Taylor out there in first, Sophie chasing her in lane 2 for second place. Abby Taylor currently in third for Forks out in lane 6. It'd be something if they could sweep this event with first, second, and third. Hasn't happened all night. Greene has been doing a very good job of staying in a lot of these races. We see Taylor and Sophie coming into the wall in the shallow end. A big part of this stroke, again, is timing, and off the wall, you are only allowed a very specific and limited set of motions you can do underwater called the pull-out, where you can do one pull that you're actually allowed to make go farther than the pull across the pool, and one underwater kick. So we see Taylor coming in right now at the flag. She will be coming in first for Forks. Sophie Shepard right behind her in second. Great times from both of those ladies, both under 1:30. Abby Taylor battling it out for third place with Greene's Mallory Jeffrey. Abby does sneak a look. Not something we like to see as a coach, but you can't blame her. She knows probably during the turns that this was close. Mallory is making a move for it. We'll see. It's all about the reach. Ooh, a very close race. Mallory does get her hand on the wall. Another race determined by 1/100th of a second tonight. Incredibly close. You can't tell from up here or even probably on the pool deck just watching visually who finished first. So a really, really nice finish from Mallory Jeffrey there. Just out touching Abby Taylor by 1/100th of a second. The second time tonight. What a great race. All right, up last, we've got the 400 freestyle relay. Another relay, another 4 swimmers, but no comfortable 50 yards this time. Each of these girls will be sprinting double the distance. So 100 yards from each of the swimmers in lane 2. Kaylee Lockwood, Tessa Kosak, Victoria Austin, and Olivia McPeak from Forks. In lane 3, Natalie Specht, Olivia Ketzak, Savannah Nowak, and Skylar Nowak from Greene. And in lane 4, Sophie Shepard coming right out of the breaststroke, Gabby Backman. Taylor Scales also coming right out of the breaststroke, and Marissa Figueroa. It does look like we've got Marissa off the blocks there first. We can tell from her start and her pink ankle right now, wrapped up in that med tape. So she will be going first. Swimmers are allowed to change their order without telling the officials or the coaches. Not surprising that we see Marissa going first, even though Sophie was listed to be first, because Sophie finished a race literally less than a minute ago. So, well, right around a minute ago. So it looks like they are going to be having Marissa go first. Looks like Gabby Backman's probably going to be lining up second there. Again, giving Sophie and Taylor as much time as they can, since they just got out of a race, to try to catch their breath and rally for this last race. Meanwhile, in lane 2, it is Kaylee Lockwood out in second place, but do not forget about this green relay. Skylar Nowak has been closing races like it's her job tonight. So we will see if she is able to catch up some of the ground for this green relay here at the end. Skylar is at least predicted to go last, according to the roster we got from the green coach at the start of the meet. But again, they're allowed to change with no warning. So we do have Gabby Backman going second for her 100-yard sprint. Taking off from Forks, it's Tessa Kosak. Following up Kaylee Lockwood's strong 100-yard finish there. Kaylee with a time of 1:24.46. Lane 4 off to a very strong lead early on, but their fastest swimmer did go first. So they have developed a lead. Now it's about holding on to it for the next 250 yards. Gabby Backman doing just fine at that right now. Keeping up with Greene's Olivia Ketzak. Her job, because she's basically 50 yards ahead of both of the other teams, is to not lose any of that ground right now. So staying even is fine. Falling behind a little bit is fine. It is just about maintaining the speed for the rest of the team, because we've got Taylor Scales off the blocks from Forks. As Olivia comes into the wall for Greene, it is going to be Savannah Nowak going off the blocks to do 100 yards, followed by Skylar Nowak for her 100. Tessa Kosak closing out her 100 yards here for Forks. Tori Austin off the blocks. That Forks relay currently in second, but again, the green relay is still in this race. We did lose a swim cap somewhere, but that's all right. It can be found after the race. Taylor Scales went out quite aggressively at the start of that, but again, was just sprinting a race a couple of minutes ago and has backed off of her aggression a little bit. Just trying to finish this race in one piece right now. Very, very tired. Sophie Shepard up on the blocks to try to close this out for Forks. It's been an exhausting evening for these ladies. 3 or 4 races apiece. But coming into the last leg, we know Skylar Nowak is fast, but a 50-yard deficit is quite the challenge to try to make up. And Sophie's not going to let it stay 50 either. She is pushing that pace. Now, again, Taylor started off her race with the same strategy and quickly fell back a little bit. Again, these girls just coming out of prior races, but Sophie is going for it right now there in lane 4. She's got just over 50 yards. Relays from Forks in lane 2 have 100, and relays for Greene in lane 3 have 100. We know Skylar Nowak can swim fast, so her job is to beat out Olivia McPeak from Forks in lane 2 and see if she is capable of that. And she is certainly going for it. Right off the block, Skylar Nowak has nice big splashes from her feet, a nice powerful kick, aggressive turns. She's really pushing this 100. Sophie Shepard looks close, but is 50 yards ahead of the relays in lane 3 and 2. So Sophie coming into the wall right now is going to finish. She's coming in strong. There's the finish of the race. Skylar and Olivia each with just over 50 yards remaining in their races. And that will conclude tonight's competition between Chenango Forks and Greene. Skylar doing what she does very well here, finishing out this race for Greene with a nice fast 100 split. Landing her relay a solid second place in this event, and Olivia doing just fine down there in lane 2 as well. Finishing up her relay third place for Chenango Forks. And that's that. We will announce a final score in a couple minutes here, but this concludes the swimming portion of the meet. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and mute and get back to you in a couple minutes with a final score. Thank you. All right, thank you for your patience. Final scores are as follows. Chenango Forks 90, Greene 63. Again, Chenango Forks 90, Greene 63. Great work from all swimmers and coaches involved. That'll do it for us here tonight at this competition. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.